I suppose Future Homes arose out of my personal frustration. I've been working on older people's housing issues for about 20 years and thought, nothing much is changing. And I think the developers tend to think older people obviously want something with a bit of K, which looks rather institutionalised. And you think, no, definitely not. So I brought together occupational therapists, dementia nurses, community psychologists, and we learned a great deal about light, about acoustic comfort, and some of the less obvious issues, I think, about housing. What you have in Treetops is a considerable amount of light. There's been a great deal of attention paid to the importance of light in people's lives.
I says, well, I'll put my name down. I says, but if I don't like it, I'm not going. I was determined, I wasn't. And as soon as I come in round that corner, I thought, this is lovely. It's just not like Sheltered, not to where my brother is, And they've got the little narrow corridors, and they all sit in one room downstairs. That's not me.
My mum and dad lived in a sheltered housing scheme. In the summertime, and especially after my mum died, my dad used to go and sit in the garden with his neighbours and chat away, and his whole attitude to life was much, much happier in the summertime. He was seeing people and feeling part of a community. And so we came up with the idea of building a scheme around an atrium. Most schemes tend to be double-sided. You have flats either side of a central corridor, and that's done for economy, really. We wanted them to be open, so they're open to the air, so you don't feel claustrophobic. You can open your front door onto what is effectively a street, walk to the edge of your balcony and see what's going on in the atrium. You could take part visually or audibly, and then decide if you wanted to go and get involved. So I think this openness has got great benefit to it.
And it is just a lovely atmosphere here. As soon as you walk through the door, it's welcoming, and that's what you want. And I think Clement House is a good example of how extra care supportive housing can be.
It's a good design because it does flow. As you see, I haven't got a curtain up in my window. People can look in if they want to, because I can look out.
People can exercise, and people have been saying to me that some people actually do the whole trip. They do from the top floor down every floor once a day. And I think it's just that feeling of almost wow when you walk in. It is, you come in and you're amazed by this space. You'd be very proud to bring your relatives here.
It's not just a building, it's a home, and it's about creating a space that everyone wants to spend time with and be happy in. The building itself has to function well. And I think those things are quite secondary, and in some senses we should design that so that people don't notice it. It tends to be quite tiny things that make such a big difference to people. So it is things like front doors, and can they reach the keyholes? Are the fobs the right sizes? Are the handles easy to use? And those are things that we touch on in architecture but don't always think about in detail, so it's important to go back and learn those things. But it's about that person's interaction with the individual things around them and making sure that's right.
Where I was before, I was shut away from all that. It was difficult for me to get out of the flat because they had big heavy fire doors, which I found extremely difficult. Here, the main door I can open and pull it back and it just sticks on itself, so I can get out, I can do this. I appreciate it more because it means a great deal to me. It means I'm not in isolation anymore.
Mariners Park's a really unique site on the Wirral, overlooks the Mersey. So we've picked up some nautical themes. As you'll see, it looks a little bit like a ship liner. We've been quite conscious not to make long straight corridors on this scheme, and we've got a really unique opportunity to curve the building quite dramatically, which is great because you don't see the end of the corridor, you kind of sweep round the building. So everything has a lovely big panoramic view from the sides. And they find that really exciting, and it's something that brings the residents together. They'll all be spotting what's come in and who's been on that ship and sharing stories. And that opportunity to share your own experience with somebody else is really unique.
I mean, I've been at sea since 1965, yep. All of those docks over there, I was in almost all of them, even the docks that don't even exist anymore in the south end of Liverpool. And I can see the whole lot from the top to the bottom. Every ship it goes up and down. So really, absolutely ideal for an old retired seafarer like me, really.
What we're seeing now is a really interesting trend towards what you call the vertical village model, which can be a 10, 11, maybe 14-storey skyscraper almost, located right in the heart of where people live. And that's proven very popular with customers because ultimately people don't want to lose or move away from their social networks. They want to retain their links to the area they live in, where their families might be living. And I think it's important to create those choices. I think the key thing is, build it in the right place, have the right services in place, and provide a good service and a product. And that's what people will want. And it's not just focused on bungalows.
There's a phrase, isn't there, that extra care should be a part of the community rather than apart from it. And I think in this scheme we've managed to do that, so it is very much a part of the community. Part of the building at the front is sort of open to the public really, and with immediate access doors from the outside, so people don't actually have to come through the scheme to go into the community room or the hairdresser or the restaurant. And I think that just helps to open the scheme up a little bit.
It's that healthy interchange between the community inside and the community outside. So it's an enrichment of the street for this neighbourhood, and it means that people living in treetops mix with people who are living around the door. And I thought that was an excellent model. I thought it was very well thought out and well executed. The fact it was lived in by older people was almost immaterial. It was just good housing.
Never think I'm old. No, I'm old, I look old, but I never think I'm old. And I love to go down there, go down every morning, 11 o'clock, cup of coffee and watch people coming in and out. And that's my life, but it's lovely.
Sometimes designers who have done schemes lots of times before is a good way to go. Maybe sometimes it's worth challenging and going for someone who's never done a scheme like that before. And I think if you go on the process of looking at what's been done before, but asking people to think laterally about the problem, situation, the scheme, and see what they can come up with. When I showed this scheme to one person, they said, great, you can have rock concerts in there. So I think you've got a new generation of people coming through as well, whose aspiration maybe is slightly different. And moving to, these type of schemes, it could be a really exciting thing to do.